How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I want to come with a video today because ARK Invest just bought a new stock. They bought one that you've probably heard of, and they bought $140 million worth the first day that they bought it. Now, this is a social media company that's moving up. It moved up 10% today. Before ARK Invest even announced that they were buying it, it barely moved up after market hours because this is almost a $100 billion company. So it's hard to move just on ARK buying it, but I want to tell you how much they bought, why they bought, what they think the company can do. And this company actually has some pretty good growth behind it. So we're going to see what kind of investment this could be moving forward. So if you guys like this, please leave a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. This is a Friday night at about 10 p.m. that I'm recording this. So I wanted to get this out to you so that you could take a look at it over the weekend. I never know when people are watching. So definitely take a look at this company, research over the weekend. Please hit subscribe if you haven't done that already. We're so close to 100,000 subscribers. If, a tenth of the people that watch this that aren't subscribed, hit subscribe. We're at 100,000. I really appreciate that. Also, there's a link down there to WeBull in case you want some free stocks. I really like that platform. People ask me all the time what platform I use. I use that and I use Fidelity. So definitely check that out. You can trade up until 8 p.m. Eastern time and as early as 4:30 a.m. Eastern time. And you can get some free money if you deposit $100. There's also a link down there to BlockFi. Ethereum is at all-time highs. Bitcoin is pretty high too. So if you guys want to start investing in that, I've been buying the dips. And you can get an interest rate on your cryptocurrency. And last thing, there's a link down there to Patreon. I invested, I think, in 4 or 5 stocks this week that were up between, 30 and 100% just this week. And there's a link down there. I tell them exactly what I buy and sell. And that had closed out, one of the lower tiers had closed out the $10 tier, but I added it back. So in case you're interested in that, you can join that. Most people earn back their the first year's worth of membership within a few days of just, good stock picks. So definitely check that out if you're interested. So the company we're looking at today is one that I was not super interested in. And, before ARK Invest bought into it, I thought of it as kind of a dying company, actually. But it's actually got really good growth over the last 3 or 4 years. And that stock is Snap. So Snapchat stock. It's up 10% today. It actually fell yesterday. We can see that they reported their earnings and it was not taken well. It actually fell a couple percent after the earnings, but they actually reported pretty strong earnings. So I'll explain that in a second. I'll explain why they moved down afterwards and why they moved up 10% today. But again, you can see after the market closed, usually ARK Invest announces right around 6:30 p.m. what they bought for the day. And you can see there's a slight jump, like 1%. It was very small on Snapchat stock. Now they bought a lot of this one. So this is lucidtracking.com. They own this company and a lot of their ETFs. So ARK Invest bought about 140 million in one portfolio, 2 million in another, and then 2 million in another. So they've been buying a lot of this company recently. They jumped 9% on Friday following the release of the company's fourth quarter results. They saw their daily active users climb 22% to 265 million. Snap's revenue in turn leaped 62% to 911 million. I mean, that's huge. For their revenue to jump up 62% and for their daily active users to go up 22%. The fourth quarter is a really big quarter for advertisers. I know that because on YouTube, we get paid better because advertisers are willing to pay more around Christmas. So that makes sense for them to have a really strong quarter. I think that's why we see their revenue jump 62% as opposed to, having it just jump 22%, let's say, because their daily active users climbed a good amount, 22, but the revenue climbed so much more. Now they are expecting a little bit lower revenue next quarter. You can see they're expecting about 730 million. Now, just looking over their last couple of years, they've actually grown their revenues a good amount. And this is what I really pay attention to for growth stocks is their revenue, not really their net income, because at enough scale, most of these companies are profitable. However, their revenue is what they really need to scale up. And of course, this is generalizations, but you can see they pretty much doubled from 2016 to 2017. Then they moved up a decent amount, 300 or 350 million the next year. Again, 600 million the next, and then 800 million the next. So they've been growing very quickly. However, this year has actually been a hard year for them. They actually had their revenues go down pretty significantly. Now, this is where I think it's important to remember, first of all, their products should have been used more over the last year. However, they have experienced a really tough time, I think, probably with advertisers, because advertisers weren't paying what they normally pay back throughout, the first quarter of last year and even into the second quarter. You can see they had revenues that were in the mid 400 range, and then at the end of the year, they did come back very strongly. Now, they still are not profitable. You can see they're still losing 113 million in the quarter. The other thing is they expect two big things that could be negatives for the company. First of all, they experienced a 2-week interruption to advertising demand as brand advertisers paused right before the elections. The other thing is they warned about Apple's privacy changes for the iOS 14 device, which are expected to take effect in the first quarter. And this presents another risk of interruption to demand. That is that it's going to be harder to target ads to users. So this is something to consider with Snapchat. There are two different ways, I think, to value companies right now. Obviously, you can value them on the fundamentals, and you can also value them on the hype, right? That's the two major ways of investing in these companies. Right now, it's going to be hard to, as someone that's 25 years old, I know some people use Snapchat, but I don't really feel the need to use it ever. I know some people do. A lot of people do. However, a lot of their competition comes from these bigger apps like Instagram, Facebook, and they do something that's slightly different, but there are always apps that are in this space. However, I think if they are able to get good advertising numbers again, if they're able to scale up, they could have a possibly bright future. Now, I'm not investing in it. I think there are just too many other good companies to buy, and this one just isn't interesting enough for me personally. Now, I could be wrong. This could do quite well, because if you look at the last 6 months, it's done really well. Let's look at the 1 year instead. Take a look. It went down to under $9, almost $8 a share back at their lows. And it rose and rose and rose, and now it's up almost 700%. But you have to remember too, when this was trading so low, it was trading around $8 or so. It was about 8 times smaller. Then it would have been around about $12 billion. That would have been a price to sales ratio right around 5. Now that price to sales ratio is around 40. So there's a major difference in the fundamentals right now, with it up at $64 a share as opposed to $8 a share. I just don't like the company in general that much. I don't think that they do anything that's quite that much different from what Instagram could implement if Instagram really wanted to, or other social media apps. But I could be wrong. Like I said, they are growing revenues pretty nicely, at least year over year over year over year. They had a rough year last year, but a lot of companies did. A lot of the advertising companies were hit pretty hard, but they should have gained a nice amount of users because, people had to use social media. So that might help them over the long term, actually. So that's something to consider. Again, ARK Invest has been buying a good amount of this company. They bought a lot of it. So that's something to consider too. But let me know your thoughts on this one down below. Let me know if you are interested in this, or if it's something that you don't want to even think about, if it's not something that interests you. Again, if you want to check out the Patreon, we sold ResF for 100% gain. We got into HIMS, we got into Whole, we got into a lot of different stocks this week. They have done really well. I mean, take a look at the video. I'll put it up on the end screen of the stocks that we've been buying and selling that have done really well. And this is just part of the list. It's crazy to be in the market right now because there is a ton of possibility out there if you're looking in the right places. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for checking out the video on the end screen and checking out the link down below to Patreon and BlockFi and WeBull if you're interested. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.